Hello everyone, in this video we are going to be building a large volume that we use for a mini golf in our latest gravity game events. Right now you can see me laying out these crates that we're going to use as kind of like a workbench. We've got loads of space in the centre, but I still haven't got a big workbench suitable for this full 8x4 sheet of ply. Starting off with two 18mm sheets, you can see they were a little bit warped, which made it a bit challenging for the first cuts, but we carried on and got there in the end. The craziest thing is that moving these sheets felt really hard because it's been quite a while since I've had to do it. During the build time on Fenrock, I'd maybe move 20 sheets a day and it became so easy. It's mental to think that after only a couple of years they can feel so heavy. So now the sheet's down, I just need to mark out where we're going to cut. So this is going to be the top and the rest will be for another project later. I've had this old Bosch skill saw for about 12 or 13 years. It's an absolute workhorse and I've really put it through its paces. I recently put a new blade on it, but I did notice towards the end that some of the panels were fraying on the edges. Still, they got the job done and it was nothing that the router couldn't tidy up. On the inside of the volume I've chosen to go with 4x2 rather than biscuit joints or anything. Like I said, I'm just getting back into building things and I don't really have much time. We had to get this done in about 2 days. This is where a CAD plan would have been really handy, because now I'm cutting the sides and I'm doing this voiceover thinking, of course that angle is going to be more than the 2440 of the full sheet. I just wasn't really thinking, I was just enjoying the process. And it all worked out okay in the end, but I did miss having a CAD file to work from. So with all the cutting done, it's time to start the dry fit, and I'll take this opportunity to explain what Gravity Games is and why we're building this crazy contraption. Gravity Games is an excuse for us to all have a load of fun doing things you wouldn't regularly see at a climbing centre. For instance, this year we had a rope swing, we had a big campus challenge along a 4x2, we had a tug of war using pinch blocks, a partner climb, just generally loads of fun shenanigans that you wouldn't expect to see on a day-to-day basis. We also had a load of really cool devices from Gods of Grip to test everyone's grip strength, and it was great to see some of our climbers really push the boundaries of what they thought was possible and even get some records, although they couldn't be logged because it wasn't an official event. But stay tuned because we'd love to have one of those held at Fenrock later in the year. Now, since we're going to have people stood on this ledge, I want to make the actual top panel as strong as possible and deflect all of the weight down into the sides. To do this, I'm running a 15-degree cut on the top edge of the front panel so that when I put that onto the sides and slide it up, the actual part that people stand on will be resting on the front and the sides. So now that's done, we can start to put it together just to make sure the cut's okay. So I've lined this front panel up against one of the sides, and I'm going to slide the top panel in and check to make sure my angle's okay. As a fix for the oversized sides, I'm just going to trim the bottom off and have a volume with a flat base. Originally that was going to be fine because I had the concept that you'd put the ball through the top into a golf hole and it would run through the volume and pop out the bottom. In the end we just didn't have enough time to make that work, so we went with a drain pipe around the side running into a chalk bag. And I think that's something to remember, that everything will always work out okay in the end. And if you do make mistakes, don't beat yourself up, just stay calm and try and work out a way around it. With all the sides fixed in, it was time to put the top on. Sam gave me a hand moving it over and you can see there's a bead of glue on both sides and on that timber at the top. Now, I actually realised here that if I had have kept the sides longer, it would have meant that the top was around about 7 feet rather than 6 feet from the matting, and I think that would have felt too exposed. We were trying to go for a family orientated event where everybody could get on this and have fun, so I'm glad it actually ended up like this. The next morning I came back in after all the glue had set and tipped it down to start working on the last of the internal structure to really strengthen it up. By now this thing is getting pretty heavy, but still manageable by holding it with a timber. The final stage before sending it off to paint was just to get this last little bit of internal structure. Using 4x2s here and just chopping them up on the sliding miter saw. Now we're just going around countersinking all of the holes that are going to fix this rail in place, and then finally we're going to go around all of the edges with a rounding bit on the palm router. Even though the climbers aren't going to be touching the edges because it's going to be covered in the fake grass, I still want to make sure that the edges are smooth, especially so we don't tear the grass. And what I've noticed over time is if you're going to put a large mass of people onto something like this, the chances are people are going to abuse it, and children are going to try and tear the grass off, and even adults are going to use it in ways that it wasn't meant to be used. So generally I will try to make things as safe as possible and as over-engineered as possible. So moving over into the sun so we can get the grass onto it. This wasn't necessary, but Amanda is a stickler for the sunshine, so the fact that the sun came out in that morning, she wouldn't do it in the middle of the warehouse, so we had to move it all the way over there. We bought this grass from B&M, I think. It was about $19.99 a roll. It's actually really good quality and quite realistic, but the plan is to cover this like it was the grass on top of a rocky mound. So we're going to create like a wiggly line down the bottom, and then the top will be like a grass face. Now you can see he's putting some spray glue on here. I was dubious about how this would stick because of the rough texture on the grass, and while it didn't hold amazingly, it did hold well enough for us to then go back over and use some grey climbing holds to look like pebbles and hold the grass in place. So you let that glue cure for about a minute on both sides, and then you can start to force it down. Once it was stuck, we started to pin things in. So we used green holes for a start, and then we replaced all of these with grey holes afterwards. And these pink holes were actually to mark out where the ball was going to go, kind of like T markers on a golf course. We were getting close to 3 o'clock, which is the time we opened, so I convinced Amanda that we needed to move it from the sunshine and into the climbing centre where we could barricade it off and she could get on with the painting. First it was a light coat of grey, and then she worked her way through darker shades, finishing off with some dappling effects with a kind of a scrunched up piece of cardboard that you can see there. And in the end she dry brushed a lot of it and it was good to go. Again, a massive thank you to Parthian in London who sent us this fake grass, all of the holes, the guttering and everything else you see in that box there. It really made the route come to life. It's time to get it on the wall, and as you can see by now it is really heavy. So me and Liam are laying it up there onto the pattern we've screwed in, and the idea is to rest it on that and then slide it into position so it lines up with that angle on the wall. And then it was time to start setting. The idea is that it's something that everybody can do, everybody can get on, and no matter age or size you can play on the golf course. Now, after going through the holes, I've realised there's only around about 3 really good jugs. They're all fantastic feet, but we're going to need those jugs to get people up high and to get across without having to really mantle on top of the volume. So I've gone for one up the top here, and this one's going to have to go round the arete to help pull you over as you walk up through the other holes. While we were building the route, Amanda whipped up this incredible flag. So Sam's just up here holding it while we're standing back having a look, and you can see the finished golf course. I had loads of fun building this, so I hope you've enjoyed watching the video, and we'll see you in the next episode.